What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Tuesday Track Talk with your Three Stones Pit Crew, episode number 84. I'm your tire changer, Cam.
I'm your Jackman Kel.
And I'm your gas man, Cam.
We got another great episode here ready to go for you. Had a little boots on the ground this weekend. Going to talk a little bit of All-Star Racing, which is going to have a lot of conversation with that. Obviously, our news for the week, which kind of has got all over the place, and then the big conversation that came out of Indy this week and qualifying and all kinds of drama to go with that. So that's what's on the docket for today. So what's been going on, fellas, since we last reconvened with each other?
A lot of news.
I'm on a hot streak of getting to the racetrack in consecutive weeks, so I'm feeling good.
Let's say you're actually beating me right now for races attended right now.
Yeah, that'll come to a screeching halt, but it's fun while it lasted. But yeah, no, another new track for me. We'll talk about that in a little bit here, but yeah, got to another new track, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
A lot of racing to talk about.
Yeah, I just got to watch a lot of it basically, and even then it was muted for the most part because I was home for the weekend.
Yep.
Going off of that, so. Excuse me. For those that were looking for a guest this week, that did get rescheduled as well.
Yep. Rain check.
Yep. Rain check. Working some things out there. So stay tuned for that.
Still committed, just rescheduled.
Yep.
So we'll make her work.
Yep, for sure. So, all right, let's talk about racing here a little bit, and we'll start with the boots on the ground one. We're gonna have just a couple of recaps here. You, Kellen, went down to Hawkeye Downs for Mid-Am and Midwest trucks, and we were going to focus a little bit on the Midwest trucks for this one.
Yeah. So got down to Hawkeye Downs, first time down there, right on the edge of town. It was kind of it's in the industrial park a little bit there. But I got down there. The story of the day was just battling the rain.
Yeah.
I went to leave here. It was raining here. I called down to some guys I knew down the track. Hey, is it raining down there? No, clear skies and blue and sunny. All right, sounds good. I'm headed down. Well, that made it to the middle of qualifying. And they just battled that. So they parked everyone for a little while. They're in a little holding pattern. They dried the track. Got into heat races. It rained again in heat races. So they made the decision to go ahead and run anyways. And they end up getting the show in, which it was tough, but they got the show in. We had a red flag in the race that conveniently had a little rain during the red flag too. But so it was a late night for a lot of guys. That was a haul for a lot of those guys. So to hang around and run that race, I know we had a couple of the guys that I know. You're talking about getting home at 4:30 in the morning. So it was a long night, but they ended up getting the show in. So hats to them for sticking with it because it'd be very easy to pull the plug on it. So kind of focus on the Midwest Truck Series race a little bit. Like I mentioned, kind of got through qualifying, got a little rain. They went back, and then they ended up running them in group qualifying, which worked out okay. Got into heat races. It rained sprinkled a little bit during the first heat. They ended up getting the heats in. But once we got racing, that place is a lot like lacrosse. Big half mile. It raced a little smaller than a half mile, but flat, not real banked unless you got to the top, which really wasn't the groove to be in anyways. But ultimately during the race, 1 and 2 was kind of the calamity corner for those guys where when you talk about guys that kind of got themselves in trouble, maybe not by even their own doings. You had guys like James Swan didn't finish. Parker Kane led a lot of laps and didn't finish. James Lynch was fast. He got kind of collected up in 1 and 2. So that was kind of a tough one. And in the quarter mile inside the track is elevated above the half mile. So from where I was standing, you could only see going down into one. You saw him going into one. You saw him coming down the backstretch. That was like what I could see. There were a few guys I think struggled getting into one, and there was times that you could visibly see trucks were going up and then back down, getting into one. So, yeah, kind of a little bit of a struggle there for a couple of guys with that. But really there's two multi-truck kind of tangle ups that costed a lot of guys their nights there, unfortunately. But once we got racing, it raced a lot like lacrosse, big momentum track. And you had to be able to get the drive up off the corner to carry that speed down the nice long straightaways. So ultimately, when you look at the top 10, Grant Griesbach, what a weekend he had. Grant Griesbach ends up winning the feature. Here's kind of your rundown of your top 10. Kirchner, Kurtz, Ace, Reffner, Gregorich, Reichenberger, Rail, Knese, and Vanderloop is your top 10. So Grant Griesbach was also your hard charger. He went +9 on the night. So kind of kept himself out of trouble at the end of the day with the race. You got to be there at the end to win it. He found himself in victory lane again. So yeah, good battle. Like I said, just 1 and 2 kind of presented its challenges with some of the guys trying to get into one, kind of with that grass sticking out a little bit. So battled the rain, but ultimately we beat Mother Nature on Friday night, which you don't say too often. So
you're what, 2 for 4 on Iowa races?
Dude, Iowa race and rain are an awful combination for me right now.
You're 3 for 4 for getting rain.
Yeah. XR Super Series last summer rained out Davenport. Yep. High Limit rained out Davenport. Yep.
We made it there.
Yep. And then this one. The only one I got in is Makokada.
And that was windier than all hell.
Oh, windy and dusty. But yeah, so maybe I just got to stay away from the Iowa racetracks.
I won't say I'm in the clear because the one race that I didn't go without you. Well, yeah. Nope, I shouldn't say that. We had rain on Saturday. Sunday was fine.
Yeah.
But
us, Iowa, and racetracks do not mix at this point.
No.
So but we'll keep it up in Wisconsin. That makes it really easy for us. But
touching on the points real quick, obviously Griesbach's already set himself up for a championship season. He's got a 14-point lead right now over Chester Ace. And then you got a pretty big gap back to Reichenberger from there, 51. Eugene Gregorich is 55, and then Clay Curtis is 70. So,
yep.
Slowly that gap is starting to build for Griesbach going over Chester Ace.
They're back in action here with in a week. So,
yep.
They're going to start to hit the heart of their schedule. So we'll see who consistently brings speed, but that 60 truck has proven to be someone to contend with week in and week out.
Got momentum going, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Question for you, Kel. We always kind of talk about, are they making the right call? Are they not making the right call? How do you feel like the rain situation was handled? Because we always talk about, did they see it coming? Should they moved it up? Move it, whatever. How do you feel like the rain situation was handled?
So I think here's where I kind of it's very 50-50 on it, right? Like when you looked at the radar, it wasn't raining, so it sprinkled during qualifying. They paused qualifying, sent everyone back to the trailers. When you looked at the radar, it showed rain over top of us, but it was not raining. It was also really dusty, so I wonder if the radar was potentially picking up the dust. I don't know, but I mean, ultimately, when you look at it, you're in one of two spots, knowing you have a lot of guys coming from 4 hours away. We'll make it nice and easy, 4 hours. You drive all the way down there. If you cancel, what do you do to make it right by them? Are we talking toll money and you send everyone home and try to reschedule? Do you just cancel it? So you kind of have to look at it from that standpoint, or do you just try to hang on and try to get the show in?
And especially when they don't necessarily do show points either.
Correct. So ultimately, was it the right call to stay and run? Yes, because the track worked with them. So what they did is they flipped the script and they go ahead and they ran the Truck Series race first, knowing that they had their traveling series, if you call it so. And they had a lot of guys that had a long tow home. They ended up running that feature first. So they did stay and run it, but it's also a credit to the track to be able to say, yep, go ahead. You guys can run first. We'll try to get you guys out. So I know a lot of guys were trying to load up and get out before features were even over. So yeah, I mean, really, either way, you're in a tough spot, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say, come on, Cameron, ask a better question, because I mean, now in hindsight, it's 2020, and sitting here looking at the result, yeah, it was a great call, but had it rained a little bit harder and they sent him out there and we smashed up a bunch of trucks, we'd be sitting here saying, come on, that was.
Yeah, I think
it's a shitty question to me to ask, to be honest.
Well, no, it's not. I think the hard part is it was a long toll for a lot of guys. You know, if you're an hour from home, different story, I think. You know,
yeah.
Even if you're 2 hours from home, you know, it's a little different scenario where you know, if you're a lot of those guys are only come an hour and a half, like the waiting makes it a little easier. But when you look at it and you could say, call it your average tow, a lot of them guys were coming from Appleton. They're coming from Apacacana, where it's 4 hours at interstate speed. If you're pulling a truck and trailer with you, it's probably 4.5. So you're in a really tough spot with that in terms of just making a decision on just the travel itself, you know?
Yeah.
So decision's a little easier, or it's a little less stressful when you know you're only an hour from home. But when you're 4 hours from home, do you wait it out? Do you try to reschedule? Do you try to go down there again? Or do you just cancel the event? Those are kind of your options, you know, in terms of making that decision. So
I guess, like you said, at least we can sit here and say they made the right call sticking with it. And ultimately, being the traveling series, got the show in. So
kind of one note, mid-am heat races, I got to mention this because it's the first time I've ever seen it. Going down the front stretch, we had a mid-am absolutely grenade a motor going into one. By the time he got it locked down, that thing spun around, oiled down the track, spun around backwards, up over the foam. The only thing that kept that car on the racetrack was the wooden billboard, the advertising board. Otherwise, that thing would have left the park. That was wild.
Oof.
Broke the fuel cell. It was a hell of a ride for sure.
It's crazy.
But yeah. So yeah, Midwest Trucks, they're back in action right away here again. So guys that kind of had struggles or got caught up in wrecks are going to have to
Quick turnaround.
turn them around here in a hurry.
Yep.
So, all right, yeah, that was Truck Series.
Awesome. So let's talk about the All-Star race. There was a lot of talk coming into this race with the format and, you know, different things that they were going to do for this race, and obviously just being North Wilkesboro as well. So let's dive into it. First, let's talk about the All-Star Open. I was listening to the Open on the radio as I was driving back on Sunday afternoon, and it sounded like, especially after the halfway break, that them guys were just gloves off.
Yep.
3 and 4 wide and different guys, you know, making moves and not wrecking by any means either.
Leaning on each other, as they would say.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I think talking about that, the big storyline coming out of that race is ultimately the demise of Ryan Preece.
yeah, so for those that don't know,
the old light up cone.
well, okay, so he missed the cone or the triangle on the front stretch. I saw a clip from Hamlin from his podcast saying that it was difficult to see from his point of view. And his secondary option was the cones on the catch fence to the right side of the cone. He said, as long as I swerved real hard before that, I was in the clear. So Preece then came out with the cone and set it on the wall and everything like that.
Unfortunately, it took out I don't want to say took out. It removed a fast car from what was going to be a guy that was going to race his way in. That 60 car was, yeah, he might get tangled up in a wreck, but on raw speed, that car was going to race its way in.
Another prime example of Priest and that team being good right now too.
Yeah, obviously very frustrated, but
no, I think not only that, but too, like you said, the storyline. I mean, it was gloves off, and it was pretty clean for the most part. And I shouldn't say clean for the most part. I mean, they were bumping and banging, but it was
racing
nothing
hard.
racing hard. Like, it wasn't anything that's like egregious, like, oh, we'll get into this, I'm sure. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna race him differently the rest of the year for that move. It was, as Denny would say, that was short track race, and just, get on the bumper, run them up the track a little bit, or if you get them on the inside, you can use them up a little bit. And it was, I'm sure we'll get into this, but it was kind of wild, the lines that those guys were running. Guys being dead committed to the bottom, some guys were running right through the middle, and Denny had that boulder that he was running in the third lane. So it was, across the board. I mean, give it a
They
also had
said
some names in there too that were, sorry, getting back. You had some names in those open. I mean, in the first one, I mean, you had John Hunter Nemechek. You had
Gibbs, Gregson, Priest.
Who else was up there mixing it up? Bubba got shuffled back.
SVG.
SVG's debacle. Yeah, it was Ty Dillon coming up through there. Yeah, it was. And even though it was the night before, I love the NASCAR heat races. Like, I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's because you never see it, but it's like, oh yeah, heat race is a show before the show, you know?
Yep.
You talked about this being a race where you guys wouldn't necessarily carry something over. It seems like some guys were. I'm going to talk about Zane Smith and Ty Dillon since you brought Ty Dillon up. Zane Smith did not mince his words by any means.
No, wow. And he took to social media to make it very clear his stance on that.
Wow.
I'll clutter our PG rating for this episode. Basically, Ty Dillon said, if he races me like that again, I'm just going to beat his ass. Zane Smith replied to him on Twitter and said, he ain't beating anyone's ass. So that seems a little bit deeper than just the All-Star race for the money.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And then you get into the race itself, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. But I think that open also showed what tires meant for that track. It's 4 tires are good, but you could get away with 2.
Well, the other thing about it is, for the guys that are in the All-Star race, it gave them a chance to sit back and go, okay, so how's this going to go? How can I play my strategy? Being locked in was an advantage.
Yep.
And I mean, to that point too, that's how John Hunter Nemechek got himself in there. Was the 2-tire stop, and he was able to get track position. And like they said, as he was charging to the front, they were like, he's got to go and get these positions before his tires heat up, and knowing he's got a ticking time bomb. And basically it was, I mean, he raced it like he was racing for his life. But ultimately that 2-tire stop got him into the show. So all around, this was a success.
Well, I think when you looked at it, the package they brought, and the 3 points that I would like, that I think they made the biggest note of: track position meant a lot.
Yep.
Tires, to a certain degree, meant a fair amount.
Which is the same tire that they ran at Martinsville.
Yep. And then the other part that I think they mentioned a lot and they talked about a lot was the not shifting.
Yes.
That a short track should be that way. So not having these guys, you know, you go to Martinsville, they shift 3-4 times a lap, not having them shift. They just mentioned that's what short track racing should be. So those are my 3 big takeaways from that. And I think those 3 things gives North Wilkesboro a top priority to be a points paying race.
We'll touch on that in a little bit. One last thing of the Open before we get to the actual race itself. Noah Gregson's got a hell of a fan base, getting him in 3 years in a row.
Dude, that's tough. That's tough to beat. He was living life large on that pre-race broadcast. Go get a beer. Let's drink a beer. Cheers. Have a time. Like, he was just living life large.
Yeah, I think he's got it figured out between the antics at the track and the social media and some of the stuff that he does. And I don't know. I feel like he does stuff that is relatable to a lot of people like you and I that make people. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's just really, he's just, I feel like he's relatable and I don't know. He obviously takes his job seriously, but sometimes it's like, dude's just there for a good time. And it's hard not for people to cheer for that. Like, this guy's just literally living his dream and having a good time doing it. So
yep.
I'm gonna make
I think he's got that. I think he's got, just last point, I think he's got that pretty much locked up moving forward. So to everybody else, you either got to race your way in, because if Gregson
or hope he wins a race,
because if he doesn't, he's got that locked up.
Couple of things with that. So you talk about that, and they just said, you know, that's a tip of the cap for him and how he interacts with fans, and that's why doing autograph sessions pay. Well, let's talk about the Hendrick autograph session. That you had to buy a 1/24th die cast to get in to get the autograph. Okay, love that.
Then the other to a white wall.
Hot take: Chase Elliott is not an electrifying personality.
There is no way he's the most popular driver in NASCAR. You're telling me a personality like that, people are just like, dude, that is the guy I want to cheer for.
Nothing against him on the driving side, but like, he doesn't get fired up. He never gets low. He never gets high. When you talk to him, you know you're going to get the same thing every time, and it's never animated. I want somebody to get fired up.
Except when was it that was it at Texas or Charlotte that he went after Denny?
Oh, Martinsville, yeah. And then
that was when he was still in the old 25.
Yep.
No,
24.
But wasn't it in a next gen car that he ran Denny into the wall? Didn't he get suspended or penalty?
Oh, that would have been. I know what you're talking about. That was at Phoenix.
No.
Either way.
Keep talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where like Hamlin put him up in the wall and Elliott just took a hard left and hooked him.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's either Kansas or Charlotte, one of the two. Either way. But
yep.
Speaking of him,
bro, Chase Elliott was suspended one race by NASCAR for intentionally wrecking Denny Hamlin during the Coke 600.
Charlotte. Yep.
Charlotte. Got it. Speaking of him,
race is coming up.
Speaking of him, let's talk about this All-Star race a little bit, huh?
Yeah. First off, the fact that you only know that you were for sure going to get one caution, I think was awesome. You didn't have the segments. You had the one competition caution. Obviously, you had the promoter's caution, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the fact that you had one caution made that race, I think, a lot more interesting. Now, there's a lot of conversation about staging and all that, but is there a time to experiment it with stuff? Yes, and that's the All-Star race. But I think the racing itself help produce a lot of the entertainment that we got out of it.
I would be 100% confident taking that exact package and going back there for a points race.
Some superlatives,
Championship race.
as old Matt Weaver said on this, and I'm going to pull this up because there's some good ones in here.
Championship race.
Easy. 59 green flag passes for the lead, most in All-Star Race history. 18 lead changes at the start-finish line, most in the race history. There were 1,426 overall green flag passes, which is the second most, for most being in 2018. And there were 8 different leaders, which was tied for second most in the race. 9 being the most, which was in 2002. So overall, you just had a lot of through the field racing going on in that one.
Yeah, it sounds like a championship race that I'd like to watch.
Hey, we're pedaling hard for. We got to get it on the schedule first.
So the fact, okay, so you
could
had.
you imagine though the championship driver putting that car on the old elevator?
That would be that. Okay, you're putting that picture in my mind. That would be pretty sick. That would be,
Yeah, yep. Come on,
you're
come on,
you're
old
doing
boy.
good as far as promoting this. I'll give you that.
Yeah, who's paying you for this?
Racing product. Racing product was awesome.
Yes, yes, it was.
Again, it's just, and you don't. Cam, I'm going to go on your side with this. No, I'm not going to
bring it up.
I was saying a softer tire that falls off. Not saying an option tire, but I'm saying it's a softer tire that falls off does so much for a race.
Yep. We don't need it too much softer than what it was. A little bit more.
A little bit more where 4 can have a little bit of advantage, but not a huge advantage after a restart.
Yeah, we don't need push to pass.
Oofed. But and again, it's you didn't have a whole lot of pop and circumstance. I say a whole lot for a reason as well. You just had a pure race. Yep. And I think it was kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Now, you get to the part of the promoter's caution.
Mikey
was boozed up.
He had to have been. His hat on backwards, the sunglasses on.
Dancing in the flag stand. Am I going to do it? Am I not? When am I going to do it?
Oh, man. Was it? I thought it was kind of awesome. I mean, you had to know they were going to let it run long and have a short run to the finish. That's what they wanted.
Yep.
I don't hate it.
We saw the NASCAR official there that was queuing him up, and then he gave him the old one to go sign. And then
yep.
and then they come back around and he cut Mikey loose. And boy, did Mikey get loose on him.
Fumbled the bag on that one.
Have we ever seen a flag actually get dropped on the track?
No, they've mentioned it other times in terms of like, your grand marshals that'll wave a green and they'll drop it, but they don't ever show it.
Yeah.
There was too much circumstance around the whole situation that they couldn't not show it.
No, 100%. Harvick was losing his mind. Harvick was like, did I just see what I thought I saw?
Dude, they were on him like stink on shit. Oh man, they were on him hard. But no, I don't hate it. We just can't make this a regular thing.
Correct.
This can't be a thing. You could call this like a stage break to a certain degree.
And I'm going to go a little bit of short track stuff here, especially here in the Midwest, where you do the competition caution somewhere between, okay, so it's a 250 lap race. Let's just say you do a competition caution somewhere between 50 and 65 laps of green flag racing.
Yep. Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's where a lot of our longer super late model races, they'll have a spot where if you run consecutive, they're going to throw one.
Yep. So, that caution.
It was a little gimmick. At first, it was a little gimmicky. It still is a little bit gimmicky, but how it played out, I don't
It
hate it.
set up a hell of a finish.
Absolutely, and that's what they wanted.
Yep.
Played
So
out.
5 cars stayed out for that, which basically was Logano, Blaney,
Ross.
Ross, and then Blaney just got talk about getting shuffled.
Oh, bro, he got used up for like 3 straight laps.
Did I
But
see on the? Did I see he accidentally hit the kill switch?
He did.
I didn't hear that.
I did see he
s-
reached over to adjust his brakes and he hit the kill switch.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Wow,
So,
dude.
So that is let's not credit that for him free falling. There's some other stuff going on there.
But that staying out too also
Just
shows
disregards
that
it.
100%. Also shows that what those tires could do, and you could how you really need to take advantage of that restart.
correct.
So
Joey was hoping he had enough cars to stay with him to fend off the fresh tires.
Yep.
He
Or
they
that a Blaney or Chastain would race them hard enough to.
let him run.
Yep.
Yep.
timeout. If we not to totally change the subject on here, if we do a points race here, don't you think we can go like I don't know, 350, 375, 400 laps?
They would
Oh,
go 400.
easy.
400
Yeah.
easy? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think that's all it should be is 400.
Yeah. They were talking down the broadcast. They were talking 400 lap point paying race. Yeah.
So, one point that I want to get to though is when Bell finally caught Logano, and obviously Logano's doing everything he can to keep Bell from getting around him. Logano had some choice words after that, after the race,
He was pissed off.
which obviously he was pissed off about the caution, which you had to know it was coming that way.
They
But then
knew.
two, he was saying that Bell roughed him up pretty bad. To which I would say Logano's got a pretty short memory. Respect the dude. He's grown on me over the years, but
Yep.
boy, he didn't remember shoving Bell up into the wall as well.
Yeah. So the thing, first point, I think on the promoter's caution, number one, you can't be pissed. They put it in there. You knew they were going to use it.
Oh, 100%.
So you got to have a game plan for that. You can't get it thrown out and they throw the yellow and you go, so what are we going to do? You had to know it was coming.
Yep.
So that part, I think ixnay that conversation. Now the Bell thing, do I think that Logano would have housed him if he got back to him?
Absolutely.
Of course, they're racing for $1 million. I don't blame him.
Yep.
You're racing for a lot of money.
Logano gave him a little bit of roughing, so Bell gave it back.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
1 second here. It's chicken shit move on Joey's part.
And we saw a lot of roughing this weekend. We saw that with Riggs and Heim in the truck race. You saw it in the modified race as well, which short track tempers if you want to contribute it to something.
Yeah.
But at least that way they were slamming doors, nobody got wrecked by any means. And you put on a hell of a show.
Yep. Of course.
So
This is supposed to be a little bit more of a show than race. Like
and
now we get
again,
back.
for $1 million, you're hard to say no to, doing something like that for $1 million.
Gregson said he junked the field for $1 million.
Christ, Tony Stewart will wreck his ma for a championship. Wonder what he would do for $1 million.
No kidding. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's hard for me to listen to somebody get out of the car and cry like that when Joey's resume speaks for itself. That was at Darlington 2 years ago when he's about 2 car lengths back on Byron. Just
Yeah,
sent that thing and plowed him right into the wall. Like, and I mean, and I thought it was general consensus, like across the board. That was just good hard racing.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong, Joey was driving out his rear view mirror, which is part of the game.
expected.
Got some choice words for that, but everything, like, he made Bell's life hard, and I thought it it was eye for an eye. Logano runs him up the track, chops his nose a little bit, and then it's like, that's what I said in the group chat. Like, Bell, you're only going to get so many shots of these. Like, Bell just looks like a sweet, sweet little boy, but you gotta, buddy, we can't play nice. Like, at, you're giving, and Logano's going to keep doing this to you. One of these times when you get in there, you gotta take.
Yep.
And I thought when he did, I thought it was relatively clean for what he could have done. And
Yeah,
then Joey gets out of the car and he's like, "Oh yeah. This now I'm gonna race him week to week," and it's like, boy, I don't think he did anything wrong to you, Joey. But yeah, I don't know. I was confused, and Bell was too. And you saw in his post race interview, he's like, Joey was upset, like he was confused by Joey's comments. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So obviously I've already heard that we want a points paying race here.
yep.
Which, first off, track is aging awesome. Like, it got
Give it
repaved
another
a
year.
certain way to age real quick, doing exactly what it needed to do. It's aging
Give it.
really well.
Love good repave.
No.
It's aging well.
Yes.
Give it another year and then bring a
Points
soft
paying
tire.
race, it's okay, maybe another year we can have that conversation
It'll be on the schedule in
at
2026.
some point in time.
Yeah, I'm going as far as
Now imagine
2026.
40 cars on that track. Oofta.
Awesome.
Let's get some lap traffic going in a hurry.
In a hurry is right.
I'm here for it.
Overall, though, I think this was definitely one of the better all-star races that we've had.
I mean, I feel like overall, even generally speaking, it's one of the better racing product short track races the next gen cars put on.
Yep.
So what's your guys' race grade?
8, 7.
8-2.
I'm going 9-4.
Whoa. We got to work on your scale, dude.
No, that was up there.
Okay, so what does it need to be a 10 in your point then? Since you're so close to it.
An option tire. Come on.
That would be,
boy, see, I told you.
That would be awesome.
But that wasn't the first thing that came to mind. So what was it that made you knock it down to a 9-4?
I don't know. Maybe we should go 10.
Jesus.
Are we going to give out the first ever 10?
No.
I don't know. You're making me think I should grade it a little bit higher.
That wasn't a points paying race.
That's not
that
the
Logano
championship
didn't
race.
win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just felt like for the first time, like I felt like that.
I mean, Christ, your race pick even won the damn thing.
I know. I don't know. I just felt like it overall this was the first time like I shouldn't say first time, but um
You felt
this
invested.
just it just felt like we kind of I felt like everything came together for once. The track was good. You had three lines. You had guys committed to the bottom, you guys had the middle, you guys had Larson ripping the top. You had the strategy a little bit in there, the 2 and the 4 tires, and the track was just racy. And I feel like finally for once on a short track, like it was holy shit, everything we everything came together for once.
Yep.
And it's like there wasn't outside of some of the other stuff that came along with being an all-star race and whatever, the promoter's caution and stuff like that. I just felt I don't know. I feel like this was cumulative product. This is one of the best products we've seen in the next gen era.
Yep. Yep.
I can get with that.
So
Ratchets
I
up even a little higher if you got somebody that's not in the playoffs in a winning in type of scenario.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's one glaring thing that's like, oh yeah, this if this would have happened, it would have made it a 10. But I don't know. I was like you said, some of the stats he threw out on lead changes, laps led, all that passes, like it just was a fun race to watch. And so um yeah, I don't know. It was like that was years into making a race like that.
So, any final thoughts here before we move on with the All-Star race?
Points paying race. Points paying race. I'm lobbying.
Yeah. Dude, and I'll say put in in the group chat too. Shout out the setup, sweet setup too. The fans right on the track, and
Yep.
1 and 2 bleachers going around there. Just you had some of the guys say like just like an intimate feel racing experience too. So um, just feels like an overall setup, sold out crowd, like
Yep.
across the board.
All right. So, let's hit on our news here before we kind of hit on our other hot topic of the week that it was. So, who wants to start our news off here?
Um, That'll be me. Christopher Bell is celebrating Cinco de Mayo in Mexico City with Sam Hunt Racing. Actually, not. He is going to run the Xfinity race in Mexico City with Sam Hunt Race. So, Bell getting some Xfinity seat time there later this year. And I'm guessing he's going to put on a Larson like performance there and go down and show the kids how it's done. So, be cool to see what he does. Some news out of the truck series here last week. Um, Most Nice signing ever. Nice signs Connor Jones to a part-time schedule in the 44, and that started at Wilkesboro this past weekend. So I think we were all, I don't know, that's a match made in heaven. We'll just leave it at that. Four-time NASCAR Euro champ. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I say this wrong. Is it Alan? Alan?
Alan.
Alan.
Alan Day. Alan Day joins Venturini Motorsports.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys want to elaborate on that one any further.
Nope, just getting into ARCA with Venturini.
Yep.
And then lastly, Brent Cruz made a name for himself as of over the last year. He made his first Truck Series start at Wilkesboro in the number 1. So Brent Cruz trying to put his name in conversation on the national stage.
Awesome. Hitting on some super late model news. Chase Elliott will be running the ASA Stars National Tour race at Hickory. That'll be on Thursday night this week. So stay tuned for that. Jimmy Johnson will be driving Tom Brady in the 2-seater prior to the Indy 500. previously driven by Mario Andretti. Jimmy Johnson has now taken responsibility of that one, at least this year, and obviously bringing the Super Bowl champ to the Indy 500. Big news out of the NASCAR world. Some cars went to R&D Center after Kansas. Well, there were some penalties out of that one. Chris Buescher and Team 17 were given an L1 penalty for modification to the front bumper cover of that car. 60 driver and order points were taken away, $75,000 fine, and Scott Graves was suspended for 2 races. RFK is appealing that penalty and deferring to have Scott Graves at least on at the track for the Coke 600. Not the first time RFK has been dinged with an L1 penalty either.
Yeah,
Years.
They'll be digging themselves out of that penalty hole into next year, as bad as they are.
Yep. So
right now,
big deal coming out of that one.
Yeah,
Girl just casually agrees. Yep.
absolutely.
It'll be 2026 before Buescher recovers from that penalty, Van Gogh. Yep.
All right. Fox Sports announces Tony Stewart and Danica Patrick will join the broadcast for pre-race for the Indy 500. So, bringing in some more stars to cover the start of that one. One of my favorite personalities is getting back behind the wheel this coming weekend at Charlotte in the ARCA Series. The Bald Eagle machine of Cletus McFarland, or properly known as Garrett Mitchell. He will be running with Rhett Jones in the Kinetic sponsored number 30. So, dude just loves circle track racing. We're starting to find out apparently.
Yeah.
So
hopefully it doesn't blow the valve this time.
Yeah, no kidding. Amazon announces there will be no full screen commercials while there is green flag racing. So,
hey,
you know what that means, boys. Can't go to the bathroom because every time they go side by side, that's
nothing happens.
That's
a yellow.
Yep,
that's a yellow.
And last one for the news for the segment, Connor Zillage, and I quote, "I'm back. Cleared to go racing again." So we'll see him at the Coke 600 for Trackhouse Racing.
Welcome back, buddy. Gonna be a long one. We're gonna put you to the test.
Yep.
Other piece of news that came out this week, we're gonna have quite the discussion with this one as well. 2 massive penalties for a couple of IndyCar teams, especially on the Penske side of things. 2 Penske cars have been moved to the rear of the field for technical issues for pre-qualifying inspection on Sunday. They were not allowed to make runs in the initial Fast 12 session, so they were going to start 11th and 12th. They have now been moved to 32nd and 33rd in the starting field. Part in question was and I want to make sure I pronounce this right, the attenuator. So basically, it kind of connects the rear of the car to what holds the light in the hybrid system for it. Basically, it got mended together with carbon fiber, whatever the case may be, at least from what I'm seeing. And boy, did this stir up a lot of conversation in the pit area.
Same issue apparently was videoed on Newgarden's winning car that is in show. Not to dig even a little deeper into this whole situation.
Yeah, and it was also brought up by the teams in testing in April.
And then
Penske
earlier in the week pointed fingers at another few cars that were, and I quote, wrapped, that was not up to code
From a rival team. So a lot of finger pointing going on.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to give out the Brown Suit of the Week award. And this week's recipient is Penske because he is shitting his pants right now.
So obviously, and Jenna Fryer put out a hell of an article. If you get a chance, read it. There's a lot of quotes from different drivers and team. On there that I took out of it was there are Penske officials, not necessarily affiliated with Team Penske, but they are a part of the Indy racing team that now I gotta find it here again, that are part of the governing body, and they feel like Scott Dixon, 6-time champ for Chip Ganassi, believes that there should be an independent governing body without any Penske employees a part of this.
Yeah.
Of note as well, this is obviously coming short, slightly over a year from when they got caught with push to pass at, any time, essentially, non-restricted push to pass.
Yep.
Chip Ganassi was very vocal about it. Zach Brown was trying to kind of meet in the middle, but also was saying that, this is obviously a big deal when the owner of the series and these teams and the track and everything like that is doing these, is having this happen.
Yep.
But also Doug Boyles, who is the president of both IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway, also said that a lot of this stuff doesn't even make it to Penske. This is something that's going on within the organization that's even going without Penske's look over, I guess.
Right.
So I'll pitch it to you guys. Just overall thoughts, comments. What are you thinking about this situation?
Two things, one related, one not. This is going to get very messy very quickly. It's been messy already with finger pointing, and we didn't do it. Even Newgarden said it didn't give us an advantage. It was aesthetics. Take it for what it's worth. Okay.
Yep.
And then the other part of this side note, I said this in the group chat earlier. It's removed the eyes a little bit from the sore lawsuit situation with the charters that NASCAR is going on. Albeit a Penske is still involved, but
Yep.
it takes the eyes off of us for the moment being, which is okay, being that we've been the headlines for lawsuits and charters and money and teams
stuff,
and all sorts of stuff that's just not the racing product.
Yep.
So stay tuned. That's like the other lawsuits.
There's, like I said, I feel like this could be, we just scratched the surface of what this could be. In terms of, I mean, like you said, a race winning car from last year's got the same thing on it. We're putting it on display right now for everybody. So yeah, that's why I think old Penske's got the old brown suit right now, because and like you said, there's not only is there layers to what's going on here, but like there's layers to this. This is operational. Can't put this on him. He doesn't have a hand in every single thing, but there's just layers to this too of being a part of. Isn't he part of the own the series?
Hey, what?
Doesn't he own the series?
He owns the series. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like you got that layer. He owns Indy, doesn't he?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
His team, yeah. And it's just like now we catch this. It's like this makes you scratch your brain here. Well, shit. How long they been doing this? His old Raji got his officials. You give him a little extra. Hey, close your eyes as that the Penske car goes through tech. Yeah, I don't know.
It definitely.
I'm not jumping any guns saying this, that, or the other thing is guilty.
It puts the integrity into question.
Correct. And when you got in racing, when you got a lot more questions than answers, it's never a good situation. And right now, we got a lot of smoke right now.
One of the things that kind of bothers me, honestly, is that if teams were pointing this out during the April test sessions, and we're just catching this on the Sunday before Fast 12 qualifying, where's the detail in the inspection? What is the inspection process?
Right.
Raji's telling them to close their eyes.
Just where's the due diligence?
Talk about inspection seems to be the hot topic this year.
Yeah, dude, I love just a good tech debacle.
I mean, we had the issue, I don't
Had
want
one
to
at
bring it
Slinger.
back to the Midwest, but look at what we did with Slinger and the whole Morrissey rough braces and pre-race inspection and stuff like that. I mean, Christ, it's same church, different pew at this point.
New track owner at Slinger this year too. Very smart. We got the same issue.
Which I don't know the full story on that, so I'm not even going to touch it. But
Me either.
But no, it's just, and again, there's
Damn tech
a ton
sheds
of
racking
money,
up
there's
quite
a
a few
lot of
wins.
prestige, and this is it's the Indy 500 too. Now, if we're talking about St. Peter's or any other regular season race, does it have that much of a conversation? Probably not. But this is the Indy 500 we're talking about here. This is
Great fun
worldwide
race.
prestige on this,
Yep. I don't know.
and it is not a good look.
No.
Finally
They're
good to
lucky
hear
to
that from. Finally good to hear that after that radio silence from what you could say a Penske insider.
Definitely not a Penske insider. I don't know what you're talking about,
Oh,
but
I mean, you're a diehard Penske guy.
I am a driver Penske fan, which
You probably know
oh
what's going
no,
on
my
in there.
driver wasn't even the one that was penalized. I am a Scotty Mac fan at heart. So
Because didn't they wheel his car off?
Scotty, no, he wrecked.
Who? So who got busted?
Joseph Newgarden and Will Power were the two cars that got busted.
And then Will Power. They once they got busted once, they said, yeah, we'll just roll yours back to the shed.
Correct.
Got it.
And Scotty Mac was the one that wrecked.
Yeah, he turned that thing into glitter.
Did pretty close actually.
No
But
pay
no,
raise
like
for you
Cam,
for
you were
another
saying,
year.
what's that?
No pay raise for you for another year.
Doesn't affect me to start with. Anyways,
Yeah, it does. Penske and Menards are tight.
yeah, Menards has
Yeah,
got their
here we
fingers in
go.
it.
Now you're right in there.
Anyways, Cam, as you were saying, like this opens up a whole bunch of layers too, and I'm sure we're going to hear a bunch of this during the rest of the season and the off season as well. But what at this point does the change need to happen where you get an independent governing body to come in and do these things to put the ease of mind with everybody as well. So
Yeah. It's just going to be stay tuned.
So we'll see what happens with this race now as we come off of qualifying. First off, qualifying itself had a ton of drama with a rookie sitting on the front row or sitting on the pole for this one. You're going to have Will Power and Joseph Newgarden, who were probably two of the fastest cars, now coming through the field. All their cars that have wrecked so far this year or for this session, and just talk about storylines going into this one. So stay tuned.
Yep.
Maybe have a race preview on it. I don't know. We'll decide on that. But
Yep. All right.
want to do some hand out an award?
Yep.
All right. So Wheelman of the week here, and we got a few of them here. I'll rattle off this first one, and then we'll fight from there. Rico Abreu caught Justin Peck. We've got it coined here as with his pants down, but you want to talk about pickpocketing that one away. Steals one at Kokomo for 20 grand in the midweek season opener.
Rico said it himself.
He stole it.
Cam, you're a late model guy. Take the next one.
Yeah, Howdy O'Neill finally gets off the struggle bus and wins at Marshalltown for Flow Racing Night in America for 3 straight and 3 different rides. Now I'm going to go off script here too. One that we didn't put on there. I don't know if anybody see Anthony Macri. Anybody see his win?
No.
Oh my gosh. I think it was at Port Royal. I'll send it to you guys tonight. He did the same thing, got the old sprint car. I think he won it by 0.007 seconds. Insane pass. right at the line and ran him down. But guess if you guys haven't seen that, scratch that. He's not getting the award.
Got it. I'll grab these next two because I feel like that middle big one here is where I'm going to be sitting. Caden Honeycutt, he wins the pro late model portion of the Cars Tour at North Wilkesboro for the second time back-to-back years. He's won that event. Got to go on a little elevator ride for that one. Grant Griesbach up here in the Midwest. Have yourself a weekend, fella. He won the truck race at Hawkeye Downs, 50 lapper. He was the hard charger, went +9. First time the series has been there in 5 years. He also won the Tundra Bear 96 at WIR in the super late model on Saturday. And then he turned around and took that super late model to Slinger on Sunday, finished second. In those 3 races on the weekend, he has an average finish of 1.33. So, fella had 2 wins in second place. That's a weekend for him.
I think he kind of passed or got the win at Kakana late too. If I remember right.
Yep. And then the last one, Tim McCready. He wins 2 features with the World of Outlaw late models over the weekend as well. So those are your nominees for the
Wheelman
Wheelman
celebration by McCready on that first one also. You know, the double beers on the roof.
Yep. No real American beer was safe.
No.
On either night.
So,
but
all right, where are we leaning here? I think I've got one pick.
I got one too.
Yeah, I'm Team Griesbach.
Okay.
I'm going Griesbach as well.
Well, I'm outvoted then.
Who'd you have?
I was going Rico.
Yeah, he put together such a hell of a weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that feature race at Slinger, if it's 10 laps longer, he might win that damn thing too.
Sure.
Body work over the weekend too. 2 different vehicles as well. Truck hops into a super late.
2 different cars.
2 different tracks with the super late.
3 wildly different tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Give a Midwest boy an award.
All right.
Yep.
Grant Griesbach it is.
All right. Race previews. Cam, jump in there, late model guy.
All right, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Dirt super late models. Lucas Oil, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Show me 100 for 75K. The Woo Gang. We're going to take a break here and gather our stuff up. They are off until June 20th, so a full month off here. Potentially. Or you might use up one of those freebies and go get your tail kicked by a Lucas Oil boy.
Woos don't have that. They can race whatever.
They can?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Come on over, boys. Give you a little belt. Mars super late models, Friday night at Tri-City, Saturday at Fairbury, and Sunday at Spoon River. Dirt Kings at Outagamie Speedway, Friday, May 23rd, and then Saturday at Shawano Speedway.
Hitting on some open wheel here. First off, High Limit, they're going to be at Grandview on Tuesday, the 20th. Then the 23rd through the 25th at the previously mentioned Port Royal Speedway. So expect Anthony Macri there, see if he can continue his dominance. The Woo Gang will be at Attica on the Friday the 23rd. They'll be at Sharon Speedway on Saturday the 24th, and then at Atomic on Monday for Memorial Day special on the 26th. The IRA sprint cars, they'll be at Wilmot on the 24th and then 141 on Sunday the 25th. USAC Amsoil sprint cars, they'll be in action on the 21st at the Terre Haute Action Track and then the 22nd in Circle City. The Extreme Outlaw Midgets, they'll be at its Airport Speedway for 3 nights, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. You also have the USAC Silver Crown, who will be racing the Hoosier 100 at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. You also have a big one here with the Anderson Speedway, the 77th run-in of the Little 500. big asphalt midget race there on Saturday the 24th. Very interesting race. Live pit stops. You usually only have a handful of cars left on the lead lap for that one. So
Absolutely. Jumping over to the asphalt side of the racing in terms of stock cars. So ASA Southern Super Series and the National Tour are doing a co-sanctioned weekend. Thursday, they'll run Hickory the 22nd. Saturday, the 24th, they go ahead and jump over to Newport Speedway in Tennessee. UARA Super Late Models back in action for the Freedom Factory for the Bill Bigley tune-up. That'll be on Saturday, the 24th. Mid-Am, another quick turnaround, just like Truck Series. They'll be racing on Friday the 23rd at Madison with the Big 8 late models as well. So kind of two series there at Madison on Friday night. Arca West heads to Colorado National on Saturday the 24th. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup are all at Charlotte with the Trucks running Friday, Xfinity Saturday, and the Cup on Sunday for the Coke 600. So I think everyone will be in tune with Larson doing the double as he tries to get that all done in one day. And then some other kind of local racing for us. Midwest Tour is back in action for the Salute the Troops 100 at Jefferson on Saturday night, the 24th. And then Monday, the 26th, the Midwest Truck Series is back in action along with some super late models for the Trickle 99 at Golden Sands.
I will be boots on the ground for that one.
Sweet. So there's your asphalt update in terms of race schedules. And I think we're to the part where we get to do some race picking again.
Yeah, so we're doing Coke 600 picks on this one. I'll spare you guys the torture of trying to figure out the Indy 500. So Coke 600, going off of last week's picks, I had Larson, Cam, you had Bell, and Kellen, you had Hamlin. Obviously, Bell won, so Cam gets to go last, and Larson was atrocious, so I get to go first on this one. And honestly, I have no idea where I want to go with this one.
I'm willing to take a chance this week.
I'm not necessarily taking a chance, but I'm gonna go with someone I never thought I really would have gone with for any type of racing.
Okay.
Give me William Byron.
All right. Well, I said I was going to take a risk. And I'm hoping we can keep the Pistons in this thing and their odds in the block. Give me Blaney.
All right.
If we can keep the HPs in her, we're going to be all right.
Yep.
Little paralysis by analysis. Love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I got just a couple thoughts going through the mind right now.
Pick a boat anchor. Point leader. We need a bad week.
No, look,
We need a back couple weeks out of him.
yeah, when you got a lead built like this, you just don't beat yourself here. Give me Denny Hamlin.
You just said that he did get turned one year at the Coke 600, so
I know. Which resulted in a suspension.
but you don't get any points out of that.
Oh, he's also not going to get intentionally wrecked this weekend.
He was bad at Wilkesboro. So
The other one I was contemplating was the old Showman Bowman, but he's about as trustworthy as Blaney. Gets out there and he's about 10 laps. You start seeing him smoking. You're like, no way. So staying away from him.
All right. One final note here before we kind of sign off here for the evening. When it comes to the Kyle Larson double, the mark that he's aiming for is what Tony Stewart did back in 2002, I want to say.
Yeah.
Stewart finished 6th in the Indy 500, and then he finished 3rd in the Coke 600.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive. So if he's aiming for something to beat, there's what you're aiming for.
Yep.
So, and Stewart says he is more than capable of doing it.
Yep.
I would not be disappointed if he did it. So
There's going to be a large following from him, both on the IndyCar side, but also on the NASCAR side, kind of crossing over as he literally transitions between tracks.
Oh, absolutely.
So it'll be all eyes on him.
Yep. So stay tuned to that. Any other final thoughts here, fellas, before we sign off for the evening?
Enjoy your Memorial Day holiday weekend. Long weekend, so enjoy it. Hopefully the weather by you is good. It's cold here, but hopefully it warms up that you can get outside and enjoy the holiday weekend.
And yeah, man, I don't get outside, but this is one of the best racing weekends in America. So enjoy some good racing.
Yeah, every pretty much every short track is going to be running a race this weekend. Obviously, remember why we get to do what we get to do. Thank Veteran this weekend. Visit your local short track, and as always, make sure to comment, like, subscribe as well. Hopefully, we can get a race preview out this weekend or this week for the triple header on Sunday. But otherwise, stay tuned to our socials for other information as we get to it as well. Again, comment, like, subscribe, hit us up on the socials. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the next edition of the Tuesday Track Talk.